Welcome to the Kindred Journey Podcast, the podcast where women share their experiences of stepping into courage when comfort is no longer an option. This is the podcast for connecting in community with women who have been shaped by the liberating to challenging seasons that life endures. I am your host, Lesley. I am a wife, mother, daughter, sister, and friend. I too have experienced these seasons in life, and I want you to know that you are surrounded by a community of courageous, real women here for you. I can't wait to connect, so grab your favorite beverage and join me on this kindred journey. Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a great end of summer, even though it doesn't feel like it's the end of summer. But I feel like a lot of people are kind of winding down and getting into more of a rhythm and a routine and systems. I enjoyed the month of July doing kind of an adventure theme on the podcast and having guests come on sharing their adventures of, oh my gosh, traveling to Bali and traveling abroad and selling everything that they own and living in a sailboat, to heli skiing and basically jumping out of a helicopter to go to backcountry skiing. I just thought that all of the stories that were shared of courage on this month's theme and topic, I felt like was so invigorating for me, especially because I feel like I'm in a season of a different kind of adventure. And it was just refreshing to hear all these amazing women and their wonderful stories, and coming on here talking about just what they've learned about themselves and what their takeaways were from their experiences, and still stepping into courage and doing it anyways, even if it seemed daunting or people were getting, the background noise was kind of getting in your head like, oh, should I really do this? And the clarity that came from the other side of so many of these stories was just such a beautiful recap. And I'm looking forward to going into the month of August. I hope the listeners have been enjoying this. It's kind of like a series each month. I like to do kind of like a theme or a topic of conversation around courage, because there is, again, so much courage out there, and it all looks different for all of us, and our stories are also different. So I kind of wanted to hone in on different topics each month. And with that being said, since it is well into August already, and when this episode is releasing, I want to talk about parenting. For the month of August, I have a few amazing guests already lined up for this month, so I'm excited to see how those conversations unfold. And I feel like in transition of the month of adventure to the month of parenting, I try and come on at least in the intros or have little snippets or shares of an experience of mine. But I wanted to come on here today and have a conversation of kind of my adventure in my current season of parenting. So I'm blending the 2 months, or transitioning from July to August. And I have had quite an adventure this summer. I was able to get some extended leave off with my second maternity leave. I'm very blessed for that, and able to have the time with my boys, because it was important to me to be here, to be fully present with my kids, because my husband, I've mentioned on some other episodes, is a wildland firefighter, and depending on where you're at in the world, it is a very busy fire season. Pretty much wherever you look, there's smoke in the air. There was ash outside this morning, so it's just a rough year. And thank God for all the firefighters out there who are willing to put their lives on the line to protect people's homes, wildlife, forests. I mean, they truly, truly are heroes that I feel like kind of get overlooked a little bit, and not intentionally. Just, I know there's so many forms of first responders on the line, and they truly are one as well. when they get the fire call, they have to go. So, and they don't know what they're going to get into or what they're committing to, but they do it anyways. So I really appreciate everybody that is spending countless hours out there. My parents actually, some of my immediate family had to be evacuated for well over a week recently from one of the big fires. And it's just scary. It's just such a nerve-wracking gut pit in your stomach kind of feeling. So thank you to everybody. But yeah, so I've been home. I've been a single parent for the summer. My husband kind of comes and goes on days off and, whenever he can, make it home, which is great. But it's also very challenging. And I have been learning how to do this with two and under. It's been very, very busy, very chaotic, and as trying to embrace it with all that being said as best as I can, and just trying to pop on here at least once a week and get an episode out, because this is why I started this, was as a passion project and wanting to continue on with it for at least to do it for myself, if not for anybody else that is out there benefiting from these episodes and these stories of courage. So thank you for listening. It's been over 6 months since this podcast has aired. So I hope listeners out there are enjoying what content's being put out, and I continue to plan on moving forward with the podcast. And we went camping in July, so that was kind of my own adventure in itself. Was I took my two boys camping with my sisters and my niece, and it was an adventure. It was definitely one that I feel like I had a little bit of an old idea of what camping looked like. I had been camping with my first son several times, but haven't done the two experience yet. And I definitely knew what camping looked like before kids. So being out in nature and connecting and no cell service and all the things that I used to truly enjoy. And I still do, just maybe not right now in this season of life, because bless my sisters and my niece for having the grace for me to be like, oh yeah, we'll go camping. It's fine. And not really realizing what I was getting myself into until we were in it. And our four walls were a tent and not structurally sound walls, and a wild toddler on the loose with a lake not too far away. It's definitely a little bit more eye-opening when you're outside of your own environment, your comfortable environment, and you're literally in the wilderness, and you have no way to control a wild 2-year-old. And then my baby, he did really well they both did great. So it was definitely an adventure, and I just was not prepared. I don't think, being in this season of single parenting, single motherhood right now, I did not have the capacity for that kind of an adventure. Maybe if I was well rested and supported in a different way, I would have been more gung-ho for that kind of an adventure. So that was definitely my adventure for the month of July, on top of this wild ride of single parenting that I'm doing right now. And I did actually start back to work in August. So I'm back to my 9 to 5 too. So not only am I doing my first full-time job of being a mom, but also carrying the role and responsibilities of everything around our house with my husband being gone, and also going back to my 9 to 5. So doing some subtle shifts, subtle habit changes, just trying to get back into routine and rhythm, and what that looks like now with two. It's going to look a heck of a lot different than it did before I left on maternity leave, for multiple reasons. And especially in this next month or so, as we kind of ease out of fire season and my husband's able to come back home and we're able to get back into more of a family dynamic and a family rhythm, which is also something that we've kind of come across. Like, my husband will come home for days off, and then it's like we kind of figure out how to parent again together, and then he leaves again. So then I got to figure out how to do it by myself. So it's this whole song and dance between us right now. So it's challenging. It's definitely challenging. And I feel like, we're overcoming it the best that we can. And I don't like to say survival mode because it's just part of life. I mean, there are the seasons where it's harder versus the seasons where it's easier, and that's just part of life. So the ebbs and flows of life, and I think that's where your courage comes into play, and re-listening to some of these stories and having some of these interviews this month, I felt like were so like applicable to life, not just for adventure. And I truly felt like the women that came on here to share their stories were so inspiring for me, at least, and keeping me going through this season that I'm in as well. And so, yeah, I'm definitely on my own little adventure right now. While it might not seem as thrilling or invigorating as a mountain bike trip or a ski trip or a trip across the world, something that would be much more up my alley, it is definitely my own adventure. And I know I will look back on this summer and be like, wow, I did that. Like I've talked to some of my friends who are in the same boat as I am with first responder husbands, and this shit's hard, like we're doing the best, and we don't give ourselves enough grace and credit, but we're doing the best that we can. And we truly need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit more often, because I do feel like us women in general, I don't give myself enough grace, and I don't give myself enough a sense of accomplishment. And I should be. I am truly crushing it, even though I feel like I am like stumbling every day and getting back up off my knees every day, or I'm getting like clotheslined by my toddler, like, oh, I'm down again, But it's definitely gonna be refreshing having an extra set of hands more often around the home when my husband is back. But like, gosh, these seasons in our life, they truly shape us into who we are becoming and who we're learning to be, and parts of us that we don't even know exist until we do something that's really challenging. And I told my friend this the other night, like, you are doing an amazing job at this. Like, and I asked her, I was like, how is it compared to last summer? Because last summer was kind of our first summer figuring this whole single for the summer, but single parenting for the summer as well. And it was, it has had its own challenges last summer, and this summer has different challenges. So it's not like it gets any easier. It just gets different. And that's what I've been told by several parents, like, oh, the ages and stages, they don't get easier. They just get different. So like to truly embrace that. And I think you don't know until you experience something. But with my younger son, I am truly relishing the newborn stage, where with my oldest, I was kind of bored with it, but I know this goes by so fast, and everybody tells you that, and you roll your eyes and you say you're full of shit or whatever, but like truly you have to experience it. You don't know until you go through it yourself, and you can take the advice, you can take the knowledge from other people passed on to you, but truly until you experience it, you're not gonna relate to what somebody is telling you. And so I think, just to reiterate, like, I'm truly kind of reflecting back on this summer just as okay, the chapter's kind of at the end, it's towards the end. We're going to start feeling, hopefully, like those crisp mornings come back, the leaves changing, the next season. I'm so grateful I live in a place where there are 4 seasons, to really like kind of honor that with the seasons of life that come and go as well. And I'm just so grateful that I'm on this parenting journey, and what it looks like for me is totally different than my neighbor 2 doors down, And I think that's also where, we get comparative, or I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I truly think it's your own journey. It's your own reflective journey and what you make of it. And that I'm trying to make the best of it. I mean, man, my friends would tell you, like, there have been some days where I've called them crying, like, help, please help. And bless my wonderful community here. I have truly leaned into my amazing friends and my friends that are like family. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have made it through this summer, like by myself, truly. And I'm honoring just so much. I'm just honoring the gratitude that is flowing through me, and I'm so grateful. And yes, it's not easy, but it's a challenge that it's like climbing a mountain, you know. It's like you can, once you hit the summit, it's like, man, it was worth it. But I know there are times where you haven't quite hit the peak yet, and it's like, oh my gosh, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna be able to go across this next traverse, you know? And that's how I feel some days, and other days I'm like, oh, I'm crushing it today, or it's a good day today. And I truly just, again, want to kind of correlate with the adventure piece of what we're closing out on and going into this parenting phase. And I've said this before, it's the best, hardest thing I've ever done is being a parent. And I did not give my parents enough credit. Now I do. I'm like, oh my gosh, praise you, like for the work that you did. And so, yeah, I just hope that everybody can enjoy this next month of the podcast and the guests that I'm going to have on. I have one parent coming on about she focuses on the nervous system, and I have another parent and she talks about unschooling, or like unlearning the conditioned norms of what should be with kids. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, especially in this day and age, and especially since we've experienced a global pretty much lockdown with the pandemic, like how to shift the norm, how to shift what we think we should be doing as parents and with our kids, and what can they teach us. So I think while most people are going to start going back to school and starting, like I said, these more rhythm and routine and systems in play, I thought it would be an appropriate month to bring in the topic of parenting. So I hope everybody has a blessed day. And if you want to hear about a specific topic, I'd love to hear from you. I am always open for recommendations on people to interview, on recommendations of what you want me to talk about, or, have particular guests on the show to talk about. I love women. When I do ask women to come on, I ask them to share their story that is calling to them. So I've had this actually several times where I'll reach out to somebody and be like, I think I know what you're going to talk about. And then it's like something totally different. And it's still such a beautiful conversation. And I'm just so excited that I can have a safe space for women to share their story, because I don't feel like that's honored and respected enough. I think it's kind of programmed or like systemized, and it's like, nope, here, what do you want to share? And while it might not be like that forever with the podcast, that's what it is right now. And like I said, the beautiful conversations that come from it, I'm so lucky and blessed to have met so many of the amazing women that I've met on this journey. And I was actually on a call the other day with a friend, and she said that a year ago she hadn't started the podcast. A year ago, she hadn't quite, listed all the things that she hadn't done yet. And within this last year, she has done amazing things. She's started a podcast, got her business off the ground, started her, coaching program where she coaches and helps women. And I think it's just such a great thing to maybe sometimes reflect at where we've been versus trying to constantly look at a to-do list and scratch off and check, okay, now what? On to the next thing. Like, take that time for that reflection, because truly, like I was mentioning earlier with my friend who has done this fire season thing with me last year. We did it last year with a about a 1-year-old-ish, 12 to 18 months. And now we're doing it again. And she has an almost 2-year-old and I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old almost. And like, it looks different, but like to reflect back on that last year of like how far we've come, how far we've grown. Like, I don't think we honor that space and give that space enough credit, because truly it is leaps and bounds from where you were. And just imagine in the next year where you're going to be from here. And yeah, I hadn't started a podcast yet a year ago. I was single parenting. I was working full time. And now here I am with a podcast, another baby, working, and I've evolved and grown so much in the last year. I can't even place how monumental it's been. So I'm truly grateful for everybody that's been on this ride with me, and I hope you continue to enjoy the podcast, and just wanted to pop on here and share. And if anybody resonates, and bless the single parents out there, because this shit is so hard, and you do anything for your kids. You truly do. And you don't understand that until you have kids of your own. And I'm grateful to have a flexible schedule where I can work nights and weekends if I have to be here for my kids. It's important to me, especially not having family close by, that our kids don't miss out on things, because having some outsource my entire identity as a motherhood to a nanny or daycare, that's not a negotiable for me. That is not part of my authenticity, and that is not what I'm going to do as a mom. And so I'm just grateful that I'm counting all the blessings right now and all overflow of gratitude for everything that allows me to have this life that I have and to live this life that I do. And so I would love to know one thing that you're grateful for today. If you want to share with me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram at the Kindred Journey. I will include it in the show notes if you want to share with me something that you're grateful for. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me and listening to the Kindred Journey Podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please consider taking the time to rate and review the podcast, and share this episode with family and friends who you think might enjoy it. Your positive feedback helps me reach more courageous women like you. This is my passion project, so without you, I wouldn't be here doing this, and I deeply appreciate your support. Until next time.